Probability. What is probability? Probability is the likelihood of an event occurring, right? It's the likelihood of something happening. It's the chance of something happening. Okay? So if you're asking yourself what chance that what are the chances that it will rain tomorrow, right? What's the chance that you'll pass your exam? You're really asking for the probability of rain and the probability of passing. So probability is something that you are trying to figure out about what's going to happen in the future. So this is something that hasn't happened yet. You're just trying to figure out how likely it is that that thing will happen. Okay, so now for our probability, we have a simple scale. Probability values start from 0 and they end at 1. So you need to understand you cannot get a probability value that's less than 0. And you cannot get a probability value that's more than 1. When something has a probability of 0, it means it will never happen. It means it will never happen, right? So think of something that's impossible. And something impossible is something that has a probability of 0. Something that has a probability of 1 is definite. It's something that will definitely happen. I mean, what is the probability that the sun will rise tomorrow? That's definite. The chance is 1. It's 100%. So when something has the probability of 1, it has 100% chance of occurring. And when something has a probability of 0, it has a 0% chance of happening. So it's important to understand that all the values of probability that you will encounter are values between 0 and 1, right? So most of the values will be fractions. 5 over 7, 2 over 100, 20 over 50, etc. Most of the values you encounter in probability will be a fraction unless they are 0 and 1. So let's move on and let's look at how to calculate probability. So calculating probability. How do you calculate probability? Well, when you're calculating probability, you always have to have something to observe. You might be observing a set of values. You might be looking at statistical records, or you might be looking at the nature of the item you're dealing with. Whatever the case, we use this simple formula. Probability of getting an outcome X is equal to number of X's over the total. So from whatever set we are observing, we'll count how many X's are there, what's the total number of items, that becomes your probability. Let's try putting that into practice. So an example that we have is we have a set like this with letters. So A, B, 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 and another B, and C. So let's say someone called James is going to come and pick one letter from the set there. Now, we don't know which letter James is going to pick, but we want to calculate the chances of him picking any letter. So first of all, what's the probability that James will pick an A, right? What's the probability that will pick a B? And what's the probability that James will pick a C? Now we remember our formula. Our formula is probability of getting an outcome X is equal to number of those X's over the total. So probability that James will pick an A is equal to the number of A's over the total number of items in that set. If we look at it, we have 3 A's out of 10 letters. So there's 3 out of 10 chances that James is going to pick an A. So the probability is 3 over 10. If we ask ourselves, what's the probability that James will pick a B, following the same formula, is number of B's over the total. How many B's are there? We have 5 B's in a total of 10 letters. So it's 5 out of 10 chances of picking a B. Now we can take that further and reduce this to its lowest terms, which gives us half. Okay, so that's the probability of picking B. The probability of James picking a C will be equal to the number of C's over the total. Right? How many C's are there? If we go back to our set, we have 2 C's in a set of 10 letters. So it's 2 over 10, which gives you the probability of getting C as 2 over 10. Oh, again, we can bring that to lowest terms and get a 1 over 5. So that's the simple method of calculating the probability of getting something. Now let's have another situation, right? Let's say there's a bag of sweets. In the bag of sweets, we've got 3 yellow sweets, and then we've got 5 green sweets. And then we ask, what's the probability of getting a yellow sweet? The probability of getting a yellow sweet there, right? If someone is picking a sweet from there without looking, what is the probability, or what are the chances that the sweet that they pick is going to be yellow? It's going to be the number of the yellow sweets over the total number of sweets. How many yellow sweets are there? There's 3 yellow sweets out of 8 sweets. The probability of getting a green sweet will be equal to the number of green sweets over the total. So there's 5 green sweets out of a total of 8. So there's 5 out of 8 chances of picking a green sweet. So that's the simple formula that we use when we're calculating probability. Probability of getting a certain outcome X is equal to number of X, whatever X may be, and then you put that over the total number of items in the set. Now, let's move on just a little step forward. What about the probability of not getting something, right? We've looked at the probability of getting something. What about the probability of not getting something? What about the probability of not getting X? The probability of not getting X is equal to 1 minus the probability of getting X. Now, you always have 1 because 1 is the largest value of probability. Okay, so if we come back here and we ask what is the probability of not getting a green sweet? Okay, what's the probability of not getting a green sweet? It will be probability of not getting a green sweet is equal to 1 minus the probability of getting a green sweet, which is 1 minus the probability of getting a green sweet was 5 over 8. So it's 1 minus 5 over 8. So from here, you proceed to your general subtraction of fractions. So 1 is the same as 1 over 1 minus 5 over 8. Your common denominator becomes 8. 1 into 8 is 8. 8 times 1, 8. 8 into 1, 8 into 8, 1. 1 times 5, that's a 5. 8 minus 5 gives you a 3, which gives you 3 over 8. So this is the chances of not getting a green. The chances of getting a green is 5 out of 8. Then the other 3 out of 8 is the chances of not getting green. Okay, so let's try questions on this first part before we move to the next section.